The Zephyrian hunting ground stretched endlessly across the crimson desert, its jagged rocks casting long shadows under the twin suns. Commander Thexakar crouched behind a boulder, his obsidian claws scraping against stone as he observed his prey through thermal vision. The creature below moved with an unusual gait, bipedal, soft-skinned, and utterly defenseless. Another easy hunt for the galaxy's most feared predator. Thexkar's species had dominated the hunting circuits for millennia. Standing 8 feet tall with razor-sharp teeth, retractable claws, and hide tough enough to deflect plasma rounds, Zephyrians were apex predators. Their reputation preceded them across star systems: ruthless, calculating, unstoppable. No species had ever survived a Zephyrian hunt once marked as prey. The human below, designation Marcus Chen according to intercepted communications, continued collecting mineral samples, completely unaware of the death stalking him from above. Thexakar's mandibles clicked in anticipation. Humans were supposedly the newest addition to the galactic community, a young species barely capable of interstellar travel. Their inclusion in the hunting games had been met with skepticism by veteran hunters. How could such fragile creatures provide any sport? Thexkar dropped from his perch with predatory grace, landing 20 meters behind the unsuspecting human. The ground trembled under his weight. He began the ritual intimidation display that had terrified countless species, extending his full height, spreading his arm spines, and releasing a bone-chilling roar that echoed across the wasteland. Marcus turned around slowly, still clutching his geological scanner. Thexkar expected to see terror, panic, or at least the frozen paralysis that usually preceded a satisfying hunt. Instead, the human's face broke into what the predator's database identified as a smile. "Oh, wow," Marcus said, his voice carrying genuine excitement rather than fear. "You're absolutely magnificent. Look at those markings along your spine. Are those natural camouflage patterns? And those claws. The evolutionary pressure to develop retractable appendages like that must have been incredible." Thexkar's roar died in his throat. This wasn't the expected response. The human was supposed to run, or cower, or at least show some basic survival instinct. Instead, Marcus stepped closer, completely ignoring the obvious threat display. "I'm sorry, I'm probably being rude," Marcus continued, apparently talking to himself as much as to the towering predator. "I'm a xenobiologist back home, and I've never seen anything like you in person. The holographic records don't do you justice at all. May I ask what species you are? Your bone structure suggests a high-gravity world evolution, but those heat dispersal ridges indicate desert adaptation." Confused but determined to reassert dominance, Thexkar drew himself to full height and snarled, displaying rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through the toughest alien hide. His bioluminescent threat patches flared bright orange, a warning that had sent entire armies fleeing. Marcus clapped his hands together. "Oh, that's brilliant. Bioluminescent threat display. And those teeth. You're clearly evolved from pursuit. Predators, but wait." He tilted his head, studying Thexkar's posture. "You seem tense. Are you okay? You look like you could use some stress relief." The predator stared in bewilderment. In 800 years of hunting, no prey had ever asked about his emotional well-being. "You know," Marcus continued conversationally, setting down his scanner and sitting cross-legged on the desert floor. "Back on Earth, when our predators get stressed, sometimes a good belly rub helps them relax. I know it sounds silly, but it activates pressure points that release endorphins. Would you like to try it?" Thexakar's threat display faltered entirely. His glowing patches dimmed to a confused purple, a color that wasn't even supposed to exist in the Zephyrian emotional spectrum. The galaxy's most feared predator found himself at a complete loss for words. "I mean, I understand if that's too forward," Marcus added quickly. "We've just met, and I don't want to assume anything about your species' social customs. But you seem like you're carrying a lot of tension in your shoulders there, or what I assume are shoulders. Your anatomy is fascinating." For the first time in his life, Thexkar sat down, not in a hunting crouch or attack position, but simply sat. The human's complete lack of fear was more unsettling than any weapon or trap he'd ever encountered. "You are not afraid," Thexkar finally managed, his voice a gravelly whisper. "Afraid? Of you?" Marcus looked genuinely surprised. "Why would I be afraid? You're incredible. I mean, sure, you could probably tear me apart without breaking a sweat, but look at you. You're a perfect example of predatory evolution. Besides, something tells me you're more curious about me than actually planning to hurt me." Thexkar's bioluminescent patches shifted to a color his own species had no name for, something between confusion and warmth. The human was right. Somewhere during this bizarre encounter, his hunting instincts had been replaced by something else entirely. Fascination. "The belly rubs," Thexkar said hesitantly. "How do they work?" Marcus grinned and patted the ground beside him. "Well, first you'd need to lie down on your back. Fair warning, though. Most earth predators get so relaxed they fall asleep. I once had a tiger purring like a house cat. An hour later, the most feared predator in the galaxy was lying on his back in the desert sand, making a sound that could only be described as purring, while a human gently massaged the pressure points along his armored belly. "You know," Marcus said thoughtfully, "I think you hunting types might be looking at this all wrong. Instead of hunting games, have you ever considered interspecies cultural exchange? I bet there are a lot of species who'd love to learn about Zephyrian biology and customs." Thexkar's purring grew louder. For the first time in centuries, the tension he carried from constant competition and violence was melting away. "The other hunters will not believe this," he rumbled contentedly. "Probably not," Marcus agreed. "But maybe that's the point. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't being the scariest predator. It's being the first to try something completely different." As the twin suns set over the Zephyrian hunting ground, the galaxy's most fearsome predator experienced something no amount of conquest had ever given him: peace. And the human who'd offered it continued cataloging mineral samples while occasionally reaching over to scratch behind Thexkar's ear ridges, treating the universe's apex hunter like nothing more dangerous than an oversized house cat. The hunting games would never be quite the same again.